Well, let's get more on that last story with the retail analyst Kate Hardcastle. Kate, good results then for Boohoo.
Definitely. They've obviously seen the opportunity in the rise of online, and they've been able to connect with the consumers. And even though fashion hasn't been something we've all been clambering to buy over the last 12 months, Boohoo are quick off the mark to be able to look at their range and react to trends with their range. So as we've heard, they've done particularly well with leisure wear and items that have been more popular over the last 12 months. Still an organisation with a lot of growth. Obviously, they've just taken over Debenhams as now going to be an online brand, but very interesting to see where they sit with consumer perception on the more ethical side of elements too.
Yeah, and explain what you mean by that then.
Well, Boohoo have had some challenges, particularly over recent years, with various scandals regarding their network, and this follows on from a factory scandal a couple of years ago. Now, they've made announcements of late that they have got now a reduced amount of suppliers, and those reduced amount of suppliers will be very much independently reviewed and kept to very clear lines of guidance. But in a way, the damage is already done, really, in that people became very aware that Boohoo's supply chain network was dependent on factories that didn't have the best ethical practices. And I think while we've got consumers that have more time and information on their side with the rise of the use of the smartphone for us all as consumers to investigate more about the businesses we work with, and consumers want more from businesses in terms of ethical and environmental responsibility, it's going to be something that consumers are going to be quite keen to hear from Boohoo, how they're going to progress and develop with that.
Yeah, they have also aimed at the kind of low-cost clothing market, haven't they? But taking over these more traditional brands, do you think that'll change that?
Well, interestingly, on your latter point, there's always going to be a question that if you're in the market of fast fashion, can you ever be the most environmental and ethical type of organisation? If you're anticipating and expecting that your growth is going to come from people buying a lot of stuff very regularly, it doesn't fit in with all the messages we're hearing with consumers as to try and buy items that are going to last us for longer and not buy disposable items. I think with Debenhams, obviously, they were quite clear with the marketing messages that they were going to start moving into different age range of demographics, so perhaps slightly older consumers. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch how that evolves. When you visit their version of the Debenhams website today, there's certainly some more ranges on there, including beauty and perfumes, but it's not really as wide and big a range as Debenhams had as a department store.
It's just part, isn't it, of a huge change for the high street?
It is. We are absolutely at a point of evolution here. This is where retail brands are trying to find their way with new consumers wanting a very much more blended approach between what they get from the high street, what they get from online. And actually, interestingly, I think online is going to have to work very hard to become more humanised in what it offers and does. It's going to have to make sure that it's got impeccable service, quick timing, and try and do a lot more in terms of engaging consumers. Whereas our high streets are going to have to make sure that even though I would imagine there'd be a lot more quality rather than quantity of high street presence, it's going to have to make sure that human connection and interaction really does excel.
Thank you very much. That's the retail analyst, Kate Hardcastle.